Welcome back to A Celtic State of Mind. We're international, we're continental. I'm Paul John Dykes, and I have Celtic fans from Japan and Australia. It's Liam Carrigan and Sean Conley. Great to see you, Sean. How have you been, mate? This is your first time back during the pre-season.
Yeah, I moved house and still got a ton of stuff to do, but getting there. I'm set up now, got the office going. So it's good, yeah. Enjoying the winter down here. It's like 17 degrees today, middle of winter.
Middle of winter. Well, it was a beautiful week in terms of the weather, and the rain started today. I'm hearing, Liam, 50,000 plus. JP Taylor confirmed that this morning. 50,000 plus tickets sold for today's game. Now, obviously, the kind of dilemma there is there's a lot of people saying it should be on a season ticket. No chance. If you put it on a public sale and you sell 50,000 plus tickets, Sean, Liam's dropped out there, he'll come back.
Yeah.
Then it justifies the decision of the board, and they'll just keep doing this kind of thing, won't they?
I think we probably see similar things with merchandise. Like every time they drop something, and it's like we say, "Oh, not another one," or "That's overpriced," and then you walk down a street and you see people wearing it, and people shell out the money, so they're going to keep doing it. And if 50,000 people buy a ticket, then we're going to see the same thing again next year. And it's a bit different in a sense. Like we normally do this overseas. They normally take on the show to the USA or Australia or something, and that makes a bit more sense because nobody there has a season ticket. But doing it, this is the kind of one where they're doing it in Glasgow is a little bit different, and it's a little bit people aren't really used to it. And it does seem to be that over the last few years, it's just what Celtic fans in Glasgow are getting. The price is going up, and what they're getting is just eroding away. So it's understandably frustrating situation.
Yeah, absolutely. As you brought to mind an early piece of Acsom artwork. We've always had football, music and culture at the heart of what Acsom does. And this is something that we got made up a while ago. It's now part of one of our sticker packs that you can get in the shop. 50,000 Celtic fans can't be wrong, Sean. We called it. We called it years ago. 50,000 Celtic fans can't be wrong. And that's what the board are going to be saying. It's like some of these jerseys. I'm hearing from someone who works closely in that kind of department, that some of these jerseys that you and I and maybe people of our ilk think, oh, what's going on there? They become the biggest selling jerseys that Celtic release. The that one that had the kind of wavy, kind of snaky design in the hoops was it's the biggest home jersey that Adidas have released.
I was wearing that this morning. I still quite like it. Yeah, the Teenage Mutant Turtles one.
That's the one. Yes.
I still wear the silver and pink one as well, but I think I'm one of the only people that still wears that.
Well, we had a thing before we get into the teams. We had a thing at Gracie's last month where people could come backstage to meet the two guests and get a jersey signed. And there was a pile of jerseys, so they were to choose from this pile of jerseys, Sean. And I'm thinking to myself, that grey and pink one will never get chosen. That will be the bottom of the pile every time we do this. First lady in, picked it up. Oh, I love this jersey. There you go. So these kind of things are certainly not made for old fellas like me. Get your comments in. What do you make of the Celtic starting 11? If you've not seen it already, here it is. So Schmeichel in goals, Tony Ralston at right back. Left back is Inamura. It'll be another really interesting performance from him because he has captured the imagination of many. Murray and Trusty in the middle. I'm just having a look at the subs at the moment. Tierney's on the bench, yes, so no concerns there. McGregor, McKeown and Engels makes up your midfield three. So Rio Atati drops out, Nygren drops out from the other night. Yang, Maeda and Kenny up top. I don't know how much you read into this, Sean, but after the game against Sporting Lisbon, I wasn't that impressed with Idah, but I was very impressed with Johnny Kenny. And when you see the starting 11, you think to yourself, well, he's been awarded, Kenny has been awarded for his second half performance. He was very good against Sporting Lisbon, won the penalty and set up the second goal. And it looks as though he has been rewarded, isn't it?
Yeah, I would say, though, the Sporting Lisbon defence, like if Celtic put out that sort of effort, then we'd probably be having chastising them. It was a really, really weak defending, but yes, you are right. Idah was poor relative to Kenny, so I guess I think there's some injury stuff around Idah as well, so I don't know if it's to do with that as well. But we're looking a bit light there with Maeda back on the wing and Jota still out, Yang on there. But I agree, yeah, Kenny, reward for effort, and if you're going to see what someone can do, this is the perfect time, right? Pre-season, and he's going to be up against better defenders today than what Sporting Lisbon offered in the second half.
Without a doubt, there's one thing I want to mention about Idah. I was in touch with a friend of mine who told me that being at the game actually against Sporting Lisbon, what they seen when Idah was taken off the park wasn't an Adam Idah who then goes up to the changing room, has a shower and gets ready, but he was actually then out doing some physical. It wasn't even a warm down, Sean. It was like sprints up and down the park, sprints to the point where he gave up, to the point where he had given everything he could. And this is after 45 minutes. So I don't know at the moment what the concerns are with his fitness. But obviously, I think one of the fitness coaches had him out doing extra after he had come off, whilst was it during the 15 minutes or in the second half, maybe even? Probably at the same time that Maeda was doing the press-ups on the side of the park.
Oh, yeah. Weird one.
But Johnny Kenny, yeah, he's been rewarded. He's a guy who was, he'd kind of Liam Scales that he was out the building, wasn't he? He was out on loan and everybody just thought the loan would, that would result in him leaving the football club. He's come back from that loan deal. He's forced his way in for all the different circumstances that occurred in January. Kenny's forced himself into the manager's plans. He's not a fashionable player. He's not a kind of fancied player. Bolton Wanderers bid 500 grand from earlier in the pre-season, Sean. But I do think it says more about our squad than it does about Kenny, the player.
Yeah, I agree. But then there's also, I don't know, that's kind of, there's not too many players get shunted out without improving when Rodgers is about, right? So there's a few. But generally the players come in, they get better, and they might not be good enough, and then they move on. Like Mikey Johnston, for example. What was the boy? Sorry, centre mid, Japanese. I forgot his name now.
Iwata.
Birmingham. Iwata. So like there's plenty of examples of that. Yang is one that's pretty much on the cusp of that. He's we all remember that game against St Mirren where he was a complete disaster, and then he's actually in the second half of last season he was a very functional squad player. Even though there was like maybe a year before, people like me and others were saying like you should never wear a Celtic jersey again. But okay, probably a little bit over the top, a little bit reactionary, but and it's been proven. But then there's other ones that we really do never see again, like Marvin Comper. So, but we hope that Johnny Kenny's young, he's Irish. We've been developing him for a few years. I say he's Irish. I thought you wouldn't normally highlight someone's nationality, but when you say someone's Irish, it means that at the very least the second team they support is Celtic. So he's got a bit of Celtic in his blood in that sense, and so we want him to do well. We want him to be part of the team. If he comes in and he's just a squad player this year, great. Maybe that is part of his development into being an actual first choice player. I think it's very changed days. We just don't really see players coming in these days at 18, like anyone and breaking into the team. It seems to be you have to be 21, 22 now and working your way in gradually. And even then, that doesn't mean you're going to be good enough, like Stephen Welsh is looking like his days are numbered. And he's been around for a while now, like Anthony Ralston at 22, 23 looked like his days were numbered, and he just managed to take it up a level, and now he's nobody thinks he's a starter, and if Alistair Johnson left, we'd be fine with him for a moment, but we'd still be looking for Alistair Johnson level to come back in again. So I think, sorry, I've kind of gone on a big meandering path there to say we want Johnny Kenny to do well. We really do. And if he does, then that's excellent, and we'll be very happy.
Yeah, you're right. And he'll be one of the guys that probably exceeded the expectations, Sean. Liam Scales was the example I gave. But, it says a lot about him as a player and his mental attitude, his fortitude to just knuckle down. Tony Ralston, I've used him so many times as an example. He starts again today. And what is what used to be called a glamour friendly, Sean. We've got English Premiership opposition coming up. Eddie Howe, I say returns to Celtic Park. Has he ever been at Celtic Park as a player or manager? I'm not sure. He might have played as in a friendly or something like that when he played alongside Peter Grant, for example, although I can't remember off the top of my head. But he's coming back up to Celtic Park. The Geordies are actually down at Barra's Art and Design. That has turned into a fan zone, as we do on a regular basis down there. Mainly for big cup games, Rangers games, European games. But today it's been turned into a kind of Geordie zone. I was getting shown footage of that earlier. And the fans are mixing, Sean. It's interesting how a narrative can be created, because I was seeing this morning, images in Newcastle fans, Union Jacks, Rangers bars, all that kind of nonsense. Middle-aged men asking the Green Brigade for a rock and all that absolute junk. And then actually you see a huge amount of Newcastle fans mingling with Celtic fans, having a sing and a dance and a drink, and everything's cool. So it's interesting how the narrative can be skewed that way on social media, isn't it?
Yeah, from what I know of all the Geordies that I know when I'm from way back when I lived in Scotland, they've all been absolutely sound. Like it's same way like people from Manchester and Liverpool, like that. There's a kind of North England and Scottish thing that there's a kinship there, and for the most part, not in all cases, but for the most part. So I would have been surprised if there was any untowards trouble or anything like that. There might be the odd like drunk guy having an argument about whether Peter Beardsley was better than Henrik Larsson and it ends up in fisticuffs, that sort of thing. But I wouldn't have thought there was any intrinsic animosity there. I'd be surprised if there was any trouble beyond just excess drinking. And look, I think we send Glasgow certainly sends a lot of drunk Scots down to Newcastle on a regular basis. That's for stag do's these days. Seems to have become a stag and hen do destination these days. Quite weird. I don't know how that developed or when it developed, but it's a thing.
Sean, that was a thing even when I was a lad. That was a thing even when down the big market and all that. Carry on. Absolutely.
Oh, I guess when I was younger, it was Spain. Everyone went to Spain. It was always the Balearics and that. But yeah, I maybe it's came full circle back to Newcastle. It's like Adidas, right? It comes in and out of fashion, and that's talking about the Adidas Cup. It's the most weirdly marketed, branded thing ever. Like, what are all the mega Adidas teams playing in this summer? Like, are Manchester United not feeling left out of this Adidas Cup? Like. And if we're
I'm just glad we got a bye. We got a bye right through to the finals.
That's right, yeah. Qualified straight through. And look, if you want to have a real rivalry, why not play against Puma? Because if you know the story about Adi Dassler and his brother, that's the two rival brands. So that would actually be a great, I can't remember the name of the German town, but if you named it after that German town and had an Adidas representative versus a Puma representative, I don't know, what am I talking about? I don't know anything about marketing. I criticise Celtic for putting on all these kits and friendlies, so don't look to me for marketing advice.
Well, we opened up talking about how incredible it is that 50,000 non-season ticket holders or season ticket holders who are buying extra tickets rather are going to be there today. That's an incredible turnout, and it's going to be a great atmosphere, I'm pretty sure. And I hope everybody that's at the game really enjoys it. I want to get in some of the thoughts of the commenters. Thanks, everybody, for getting involved. Well over 1,000 now live on all platforms. We're going to start off, I love this, from Mr. C. Tempted to buy the stream, but I'm aware Celtic TV is about as reliable as the Fergus McCann beanbag in 1972. I love this because it might go over some people's heads, but Fergus, the first time his name ever appeared in the Celtic View, I believe, because he was the treasurer of the Croy Celtic Supporters Club, he might have put a note in there at some point, was as an up-and-coming businessman who tried to do a beanback of the 1972 European Cup semi-final between Celtic and Inter Milan, and it conked out during the game, and every single person that requested a refund got one. They lost a lot of money. I think back in those days, figures like a six-figure sum of money, and that was wee Fergus over in Canada. The guy was a visionary even back then. So yes, Mr. C, thanks for that. I like that kind of trivia. Celtic Folio, afternoon troops, underwhelming lineup for today's game. If you've joined us late and you've not seen the team, there it is. There's your starting 11. We're going to be working through that a wee bit more closely. We're also going to be bringing up the Newcastle lineup as well. On the bench, of course, Sinisalo. We've got Duhan and Clark, 3 goalies. You've got Scales, Nygren, Idah, Osman, Tillio, Bernardo, Summers, Montgomery, Hattati, McPherson, Ure, Forrest, Donovan and Tierney. A mixture there of experience and youth. Talking of which, I'm going to bring in a wee bit more youth because Liam is going to be rejoining the stream as soon as I let him back in. Here we go, Liam. You're back. Great to see you, mate.
Apologies, guys. It must have been the gremlins or the kryptonite or something. I don't know, but my computer just chucked it for about 15 minutes there. But we've done a full restart. Everything's back and we're fine.
So your technical capabilities are just as good as mine. Switch it off and back on again, and it might work.
then kick it and swear at it and call it various names. I would also call Rangers supporters and then see what happens. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
We've got the same level. We've got the same standard of ability there. Jungle
Speaking
Lion.
of which, if you'll allow me a momentary, side issue here, I found for our Rangers supporting friends who I know watch the channel, we know there's lurkers, right? I have found the perfect shirt sponsor for them for next season when I was in the shops today.
Let's see it.
My full-time carry-out, right? Asahi, hold up to the camera, Asahi Bitterest.
Bitterest, oh yes.
And it's even got the spelling mistake. It's spelled IST, so there you go. What more could you ask for this Epconian sponsor?
Yeah, I'm waiting for the AI image to emerge, Liam, at some point. I'm sure we'll see that as well.
It will. I'll make sure of that.
Jungle Line, thank you for the shout out. Phil Differ interview was great crack. Basically, This Is Acsom this week, and on many weeks, if it's not a sit-down one-to-one, I think what it's good to do is just get some talking heads around a table, 3 or 4 Celtic fans to chew the fat, and that's what we did. And it flowed really well. And obviously, kindred spirits between Jim and Phil, who have done a lot of kind of theatre work. Celtic Forward, Afternoon Troops, underwhelming, right? We've brought that up. We're going to bring out also the Newcastle United team up as well. So let's have a look at that. The Newcastle team, your Mags, okay, and the old school magpie in the back of their jersey as well. There it is. Well, whoever's in goals gets my vote. Pope, Trippier, Botman, Shar, Barnes, Target, Osula, Jay Murphy, Willock, Bruno, and Miley. Going back to who was the better player, Beardsley or Larson, I think a more realistic argument might have been who was the better rapper, Sean, Peter Beardsley or John Barnes, because there is a version of World in Motion where Beardsley does the rap. Have you heard of that? Have you heard that version?
I think I heard it once a long time ago, but that was actually the original release was actually slightly before my time in terms. I wasn't quite at that level of zeitgeist when it first came out, so it didn't really resonate with me in a sense. And I don't think they play it that much these days in the radio. I'm not sure why.
Nah, maybe something in there is no longer acceptable. That's what happens now. You know, things get ditched that were acceptable at the time. But I will say one thing about it, Sean, in terms of that was before the kind of AI boom. So it's genuine. It is Peter Beardsley rapping. Go and check it out. I'm pretty sure it's on YouTube. Ian O'Callaghan brings up a really interesting point. We've got the best man to ask about this one. Interesting to see Inamura up against a decent team. Liam, I'll tell you something. We've been giving him loads of plaudits. And obviously, we always have that asterisk next to that with the caveat, yeah, we know it's only a friendly, but he is up against a right good side. I mean, Sporting Lisbon are a decent team. They won the Portuguese league. But Newcastle have got a strong side out. Inamura has done well so far. There was a wee conversation, a wee bit of back and forth this morning where you were asked what you think his best position is. And for Celtic, you believe it is left back, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, the thing with players that come through the Japanese university system, which he has done, and which I believe Yamada has done as well, is that they are trained to play more than one position because it's all about it's almost a kind of communist thing in the sense that it's about the collective rather than the individual. So it's about like, how can you play that best meets the needs of the team on that particular day. So, cut a long story short, he'll be trained to play multiple positions, and I'm guessing left back was one of them because that is where we've deployed him. And I think he's quite a creative player from what I can see. He likes to get forward, likes to put a good cross in, which is, for all he was a great player, great servant, Greg Taylor didn't offer quite as much of that. So I think that's where Inamura potentially brings something a wee bit different to the table. And I think that having assessed him in the week, 10 days, whatever training that they've had together, Rodgers has thought, right, he's better at left back. That's where he's more useful. And he'll be quite happy to do that because, as I said, Japanese players are trained to fit in. I mean, Dyson had never played as a left winger before he came to Celtic. And now he often plays on the left wing for Japan. That's how acclimatised he's become to that position. Yeah. So it's the same with Inamura now.
I want to talk about our 2 new Japanese imports, Sean, starting with Inamura. I don't know how much of the 4 pre-season games you've managed to watch, but it has looked good. And I've said this a few times, very offensive, always looks for that kind of forward pass. Goes back when he needs to. But I like that about him. That was my biggest criticism, I think, other than the physicality of Greg Taylor. I think he played too many kind of negative passes, whereas this guy's going forward. I'd love to see his data. I don't know if it's out there in terms of forward passing. What's your thoughts been in the kind of short time that we've had Inamura in the door?
Well, yeah, as you say, it's just friendlies, and we've had a lot of left backs come and go. We've even had other players playing at left back that are not left backs, like Johnny Hayes, things like that. And since Kieran Tierney's left, Scales played there for a while. But yeah, it'd be good to see. We won't really know until he's up in a big game, up in a derby or a European game. But yeah, it'd be good to see him up against quality opposition today.
I don't want you to die live on screen here, Sean. I mean, we do stream every day, but thankfully we've never had one of those incidents. But sometimes it just something gets caught. That's all right. You're back. You're all right.
I couldn't get it there. I was trying to talk through it, but it was just stuck in my throat. I need some more.
Well, this is the thing. I did the stream yesterday, and your biggest concern is if you've got enough liquids, because you're talking for an hour non-stop, and it does very quickly become clear that you're getting the old dry mouth, as we call it back in the day. Right, we're going back into the comment section, and it's Michael McDonald. You're on the YouTube. What does this mean for Nygren? I don't think it means a great deal, actually, Michael, because I think it all comes down to, Kieran Tierney's on the bench. That doesn't mean Inamura's a first choice left back. And I think it's the same. Luke McCowan came on, did really well. I think it was his first decent performance of the pre-season against Sporting Lisbon. And he's also, like Johnny Kenny, been kind of rewarded for that. I wouldn't read too much into it. From what I've seen, Liam, Nygren has been a snip at 1.7 million quid. And he'll probably get the full second half as well today, won't he?
Oh, yeah, I would think so. I mean, I looked at that sub bench and I thought, yeah, you could almost... Probably not quite a full team, but you could almost do what we did against Lisbon and basically switch up the entire team for the second half.
Nygren, in terms of his quality, I know we do have a tendency to do this, Sean. You look at the transfer fee, you think Inamura, £250,000, Nygren, 1.7 million quid. Same old Celtic doing it on the cheap. From what I've seen, it's been pretty good scouting, actually. Both players are fitted in really, really well.
Yeah, and I think obviously we've not seen him play, and we won't today. But from some of the stats and data we've seen on Shin Yamada, looks like basically, I know we're saying scouted really well, but then there's also feels like there's an element of go and do that again. It worked for Kyogo and Maeda. Who's the next one off? Who's the next cab off the rank? Like when Jota worked out for us, we went and got Bernardo. So I do wonder that there's a little bit of that going on, but I'm not going to criticise it in a sense. So let's send someone down to get whatever Tottenham centre back and loan, and then that will do us, and we'll be fine for the season. Who's last? Who Feyenoord got wasted on the bench at the moment as a striker? I think the last one they sent to Scotland was Danilo. How's he doing?
Where's that clause? The Feyenoord clause in his contract. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I'll tell you something. It's something Liam and I have gone on about. We've been banging the drum, saying, well, the Japanese imports shouldn't stop just because Ange isn't in the building, Liam. And we've gone out and brought another two in. Yamada, as Sean says, quite an interesting report on his data, on his stats. You were quick to say, look, he didn't have a great season last year, but it doesn't make him a bad player. He's coming in pretty cheap again. 1.5 million quid we paid for him. The thing that I posed this morning, the question I posed this morning is, right, where's the ranking then when you look at what we've got up top? And I'm going to leave Maida on the left wing at the moment, Liam, but even though I agree with you now, it took 3 years, I agree with you, he's a better centre forward. So the centre forwards we have now, Adam Idah, Johnny Kenny, Callum Osman and Shin Yamada. What's the ranking system? What's the pecking order for you, Liam?
Right, just based on form going into today, before anything happens today, I would put Yamada at 1, Kenny at 2, Idah 3, and Osman 4 in that order. Now, I really, really want Big Idah to prove me wrong and step it up and show what he can, because I know he can do it. That's the frustrating thing with Idah. You know he's got it. But at the moment, Kenny has had a better pre-season, and in my opinion, Yamada comes in as a better player, in my opinion.
That's really interesting. The Yamada one, Sean, Liam knows more than I certainly do about the player. And like every player coming in, I'm more than willing to give them a chance. you know, and then you watch them and then you make your own mind up about them, and it's never personal. It's all about, are you good enough? Are you a good enough standard? Would you benefit from a loan deal out? All these kind of things. In terms of the ranking system, I really want Idah to do well. I really do. I'm bringing this up, Ryan, not to discredit what you're saying here, but this is the view of a lot of Celtic fans I'm getting on the comment section. I love how many people said Idah just needs a pre-season. Got about 3 games left of it, and he's barely played. The 45 minutes he did play, he was just as bad as last season. Garbage player. I would say that's harsh. I would say, you know, he's not a garbage player. Harsh. I don't think he's hit his top form in this pre-season. Even though I don't think he hit his top form last season, he still gets 20 goals. A lot of them coming off the bench, Sean.
3 or 4 in the Champions League, something like that, right?
I think his Champions League campaign was, extremely good. So I'm willing him to do well. But the gaffer will play you on form, and that's why Idah's sitting on the bench today. How do you rank them? I'm going to find it hard to put Yamada anywhere. I don't know, his ability really at this stage. But I think out of Kenny and Osmond, obviously we're not going to sell Osman, but I think one of those 2 guys is going to leave out on loan, I think. One of them, at least. And I know that there's been interest in Kenny on a permanent. So in terms of the ranking, what's your thoughts? What's your thoughts on Adam Idah?
Well, based on very little data, I'd say it should be Osmond going out on loan. Kenny's had a lot more training time with this team, so and he's older, isn't he? I might be wrong on that, but I think he's a couple of years older, so he's more physically developed. He's got European experience. Osmond doesn't even have first team experience, so I'd be sending him out to a good level. And I don't think that would even be an Aberdeenish. I don't think that's the kind of level. I'd say more like Belgium, something like that. Before I started choking to death earlier, I was actually going to bring up the point about Matthew Anderson and how I wanted to see him this year. And instead we've got Inamura in. But I hope we've got a buyback in that one, because I actually quite like the look of that kid. But maybe there's someone better coming through in Mitchell Thrame, and that's why that's happened. In terms of Idah, though, I still rate Idah, but I agree he's got a consistency problem. He's got an effort, a consistency of effort problem as well. So it's not just a consistency of ability; it's a consistency of effort, and that's why it's frustrating. But 20 goals is great. If we signed him for 1.5 million, people would be like saying he's a saint. Like, what a signing! 1.5 million, 20 goals, amazing. But instead, we messed about with our market and transfer market play, and we had to pay over the odds. Actually, question for Liam. What chance do you reckon Shin Yamada gets converted to a winger in the same way Maeda did?
Quite possibly. Ironically, they're talking about him being the new Kyogo, and Kyogo was a winger who we converted to a striker. So it could go that way. If it's a question of trying to fit, assuming that we are, because most of the stuff I've been writing about in the blog the last few days has been various strikers that we've been linked with. So I'm assuming we're bringing in at least one more striker. So I think it's going to be a question of trying to fit Yamada in with other, whether that's Idah or whoever else. And I don't see it. I would love to see us go with 2 up front, but I don't think that's going to happen. So he could very easily end up wide on the right, wide on the right, because Maeda would be wide on the left.
That's another reason why I believe one of them's going to leave at least on loan, and there might even be a permanent departure for the likes of Kenny, because Brendan Rodgers made it clear he is still in the hunt for a striker, and there was all that chat about club signings and all that. Listen, if a club signing comes in and he has a look at him and he thinks great, that but what I'm struggling to get my head around that though, Sean, because he said it about Inamura and he said about Yamada. We'll have a look at him, and I'm thinking, don't you do that before you sign the player? You're having a look at him at the training, and you think, all right, he's not good enough, and then he goes into the quone box, of £1 million spent. That's the big concern for me. Or is that just a modern thing? You trust your recruitment and scouting team, and then the manager. The thing with Brendan Rodgers, he doesn't feel obliged to play the guy, and he just won't play them if he doesn't fancy them.
Yeah, but I think maybe what he means is more seeing them in the flesh, right? Because it's different, to seeing someone on TV, because you're only ever seeing 1/3 of the pitch on TV, right? Looking at data is data. It doesn't give you the whole picture. So I think he just means that, more seeing how he works with the teammates, seeing if it's a different game style as well, a different pace when you see someone playing in Japan. Like, they might be the best player on the pitch, but then they can't it's just different here, So I think maybe that's what he means. But it did seem like a massive backpedal after that one friendly game. But then also he had the confidence in what he'd seen at training to play him in that friendly. So it's not all just whoa, that came out of nowhere, but you're right. There's a kind of, it's not a contradiction, but there's an inconsistent messaging there.
Sorry, Sean, just to jump in on that. I noticed from Yamada's very brief interview on YouTube this morning when Celtic announced them, he said that he'd first been told about going to Celtic in January. So we've clearly been scouting this player for at least 6 months. And, probably longer, because that was when the player himself was told Celtic want to sign you.
Yeah.
Now, that makes Rodgers' comments even more baffling, in my opinion, because how could you scout a guy for 6 months and the manager doesn't really seem to know who he is?
Yeah. You need to look at him. Listen, we've just moved into the huddle. The place looks mobbed. It looks mobbed. So let's go to the action. Enjoy the game. Join us at half-time. That was a busy stream. We're about 1,200 strong. It is being shown on Celtic TV. Go and enjoy the first half and then rejoin us at half-time on a Celtic State of Mind.
Come on out.